All right, guys. I think we're going to get started. I don't have a gavel, but we're going to call this meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. We were really excited about having this day. We were really excited about being on the roof and getting to explore that area, but the weather had other plans. Unfortunately, the heat wave was the biggest issue, but who knew it'd rain, right? So thanks for hanging with us for that. We just wanted to have a chance to kind of explore a new time slot. I know we do a lot of things during lunch. We've also done some things in the mornings, but the evenings, everyone can kind of unwind a little bit and just enjoy some fellowship. So thank you guys for coming. I do want to say a special thank you to Misty Hill back here. Come on, do you want to do like a walk up and wave thing?
Oh, that's okay.
Misty works with Dan. Misty's a good friend of mine. We've connected through the ambassador program several years ago. So Misty, thank you for all your help.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. As Josh said, this is kind of a new time slot for us. Hopefully the back porch, especially as things cool off in the fall, and ultimately the roof. Most of the furniture that you saw out and about came down from the roof this morning before the rains. So we are going to be trying to do some stuff up there. So I realized that we didn't get to have the quote-unquote rooftop event. You're more than welcome to go up and check it out. There's roughly 1,400 square feet up there, where we're hopeful that we're going to be able to do these type things in the future. So if there are things that you want to know about or that you would find interesting at events like these, make sure you let Josh know. And that way we can put them together. I've got kind of two things that I wanted to talk about. I'm much better going back and forth with questions, so please don't feel like you can't interrupt me if there's something that you want to ask about. But my main things that I wanted to talk about were, where does real estate come in my world as an investment advisor? And then also what this kind of, there's a triangle here of looking at, the real estate agents. And I know we've got a lot of agents here, homeowners, investors. What does that look like? Where do we come in? And then, where does that synergy really happen that it makes sense? So kind of starting with, where does real estate come in? A lot of times as financial advisors, people will come to us and say, well, I have this house, or I have a rental that's doing this, or I'm thinking about adding rental income to my financial plan. What does that mean? And I think it's really important to be aware of how that affects everything else that you have going on in your investments. So if you have rental income coming in, maybe I don't need to buy as many fixed income items that are also designed around, providing income. One of the things that we do, and if you've come to these before, I harp all the time about asset allocation, stocks to bonds, risk to non-risk. A big part of fixed income is safety, stability, and income generation. Well, if you're getting that from a rental, you might have the ability to take on a little bit more stock risk than you think. Now, it depends on what's your rental, what's your occupancy, all those type things. And the other thing that I look at is saying, okay, well, maybe, it's not what we're managing, but for me, it's looking holistically and saying it's part of your financial plan to know, okay, I have an asset worth $100,000, $200,000, whatever it is. It's bringing me in $1,500 of income per month. And then we look at property taxes and all the things that come along with it. And okay, well, what does that mean for what we've got going on over here? So maybe instead of, I think you should be in a 60-40 portfolio, 60% risk, 40% safety. Maybe you can go 70-30, get those 15%, S&P returns that we were just talking about. So it's really important. A lot of times when you're working with a financial advisor, people will say, this is what I have, just looking at this pot of money. It's my 401k, it's my retirement account, without looking at the other things that are going on. The other thing that I'm often really cautious about is if you have rental income or if you have investment properties outside of your investments, they are your portfolio investments. I don't want to put more in your stock portfolio. So I'm not going to buy like Pulte Homes, building homes, and be exposed to the housing market if I'm already exposed to the housing market over here. So I think it's really important to realize where those things come in. And typically what we find is that you're either a real estate investor and that's your bread and butter, and why would I ever do the stock market? Because I know how to do real estate and that's what I want to do. Or you're the opposite. I'm all stocks and bonds and stay completely away from real estate. And there is probably a happy medium in between the two, and it depends on what you're going for, on how they fall in. The other thing that I look at often, and I think it's really important, is the tax ramifications of owning real estate. So we prepare a lot of tax returns. There's a lot of tax benefits to having rentals. There's a lot of things that go on there. There's also the issues with how do I pass that piece of property on? And so many times we'll talk to people and they're like, well, I want to put the house in my kid's name so that I don't have to probate my will. And they've just cost themselves a ton of tax money. Because when you give away property, let's say I have a house that I bought for $100,000 and I give it to my son and it's worth $500,000 when I pass away. If I waited till I passed away, his cost in that house is $500,000. So if he sold it at $500,000, he pays zero in taxes. If I give it to him, he gets his cost from me at $100,000. We sell it at $500,000. We have $400,000 of taxable income at capital gains rates, plus making the rest of your income tax, higher. So there's tax ramifications that go along with it. So I think when we look at it as a financial advisor, it's really important to bring that in. So we always encourage our clients to bring that information in to us. The other thing I kind of wanted to talk about is this triangle here of where our client or an investor sits in the middle of a mortgage broker, a financial advisor, and a real estate agent. And somebody is always the last to know, right? And typically what we see happen, and it's, there's no necessarily fault in this, it's just the way the world works, is you have someone who calls up a real estate agent. They say, we're looking to move, or let's say we're looking to buy a house at the lake or whatever it is, right? Real estate agent goes, great, let me find some listings, I'll shoot them over to you. And that's where that conversation stops. If you have the ability to link in the advisor and then ultimately also the mortgage broker, you can dramatically improve the results just because everybody knows a little bit more. And so very often, and this has happened to me this year, I've had someone come to me and say, I've agreed to buy a house, I'm closing on Friday, I need the money out of my account. There's a lot of tax ramifications to that, right? So if I'm trying to come up with $140,000 out of a $250,000 portfolio, if a lot of that's gains, that's costing a lot of money. It's completely changing your overall financial plan. It's doing a lot of things that can mess up other areas. And if we can pause a little bit and either as the client or investor saying, hey, I also want to loop these people in, or any one of those people who get that first call, whether it's the agent, the mortgage broker, or myself, saying, well, we need to talk to the people who know these things about your overall situation. So I'll give an example of something that we've worked through. We've had a client come to us and say, hey, I'm looking at selling some investment properties, right? I know because of what we do that they have a foundation that they're trying to set up. And so what we're working through the process with them is actually donating those properties to their foundation, then having the foundation selling it without paying tax. And they've now funded their foundation with a better vehicle than selling, their investment assets over here. And in this case, it has the potential to save a significant amount just because it's one of those things where they've owned this place forever. It's a super low cost basis. They've depreciated it because it's been, used as a rental in the past. And so if they were to go and sell this house, and there's multiple, but let's say they sold it for $150,000, $160,000, and their cost is 10 now. We're adding $140,000 if you pay 20%. You're looking at a significant $28,000 tax bill, right? Or we already knew we were trying to put money in the foundation. Let's do it this way. Now, are there a lot more, I's to dot and T's to cross? Absolutely, and that's why so many people need to be involved. And earlier in the process, the better. Similarly, when things come up, a lot of times you'll see, okay, let's say they're not coming to us for the money out of their investment account. They've worked with the real estate agent, they've found who they want, and then they go try to find their financing. And just like my son turning in his homework last minute, it never goes well if we wait till the last minute, right? It doesn't. Or, yeah, I get it in, but it's not as good as it could have been. So we try to encourage people to go talk to, Misty, go talk to your bank, go talk to, know where your money's coming from. There might be a better alternative to how you're doing. There might be a bridge loan. There might be, what Dan was talking about with a closed-end, mortgage to fund this for investment property. If we know all those things in advance, then that can save tens of thousands of dollars. And that can be the difference in what type property I get, what type mortgage I have going for it, all those things. And like I said, we're always, because of where we sit in this process, most people don't come to the financial advisor when they're thinking about moving houses. They're called real estate agents, right? And that's great. And you guys do a great job. And so what I would encourage all of us in this kind of grouping to do is start thinking about where we can collaborate, where we can pull in, where not just as a referral of, hey, I know so-and-so, but let's work as a collaborative team, because in the end, it just makes everything better. I'd encourage you guys to stay as long as you want. We've got the space. I think Jerry, I don't know if Jerry's left or not, but thank you all for coming out. Thank you for participating in this, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.